Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Saco City Council meeting for Monday, September 22nd, 2025. Before we call the official meeting to order, we do have a joint meeting tonight with the Planning Board for a couple of updates. And with us tonight, we do have members of the Planning Board. And the first item up is item A, which is a housing state statute update.
Thank you, Mayor. In absence of a city planner, while we look to fill the city planner role, bear with me as I provide the update with the Planning Board, if you can accommodate that this time. So a quick presentation here, and then I'll hand it off to everyone. Just a little recap from June to September. So June 2024 to today, I had to go back myself and look at all the good work we've done. So thank you for all the time you spent on these important matters. This is just a recap of the 12 workshops we've had. It's a little more than 12 because some of them we did multiple workshops on. Some housing updates. I won't steal too much because we have our legislative updates right after this. The two primary bills that we're tracking are LD 1829 and LD 1498. 1829 has impacts for housing lot sizes, how many units can go on one lot, the definition of subdivision, and some other provisions as well, including planning board training and how we look at ADUs and sprinkler systems. LD 1498 has to do with the impact fee statute and how impact fees can be encumbered going forward. Currently, there's a long period that you can have impact fees before the improvement has to be made that the impact fee was set aside for. This will change that so that the impact fee has to be encumbered for certain projects within 1 year of the impact fee being collected. The question that we've had, or the way that we're interpreting that, is it's going to be impact fee encumbered within 1 year to the capital fund. We're working on that and tracking that as staff. Other redline ordinance amendments that we were previously drafting as a result of these 12 plus workshops, some of which will be redrafted to reflect these law changes that we've been working on, and as we get a new city planner, pulling them into that process as well. We did also share with the Planning Board, as well as the Long Range Planning Committee, a list of bills that we were tracking that affect housing. These are probably the primary two, but there's a whole list I can show you after this that we can send the links out and make sure that you have. So we are still working on redline ordinance amendments. I did present to the Long Range Planning Committee back in June and then in August about moving forward, focusing first on the site plan review ordinance, and then following up with subdivision and zoning, as the subdivision and zoning ordinances will have to be amended a little bit further to accommodate for the state law revisions. We also did some great work with the Long Range Planning Committee in the fall time. Councillor Hatch had brought forward some recommended items to look at. Those went through a subcommittee review process of the Long Range Planning Committee. That subcommittee met a few times and really dove into what design review standards could look like and how some of those updates that Councillor Hatch recommended could be put into our ordinance. So we have red lines of those as well for the site plan review ordinance primarily, and some of the subdivision ordinance. The next step of this would be to finish out those red lines and then bring this to Planning Board and then to City Council. I could pause here so we can allow another board member to join us. So upcoming, we will also be having a joint meeting with the Long Range Planning Committee to go over some of that subcommittee work from fall 2024. We will also be looking to have new business review to be scheduled so you can at least get an eye on the drafts that we have, and we can share the link to the draft that we shared with the Long Range Planning Committee. I did share what we had for site plan review and asked for edits. I did receive some minor edits from LRPC members, so appreciate that. And then anticipated drafts, just as an FYI, we are still closing out the Portland Road Master Plan. We did a lot of great public comment. I didn't have that on our list because it was relative to the long-range plan, but we did a lot of great public comment and business breakfasts, and so we are anticipating a fall 2025 draft of that plan, as well as a winter 2025, early 2026 draft of the Housing Action Plan. So it'll be exciting to see some of this closing out. And then here's just a list of ongoing planning projects that we are excited to either be in the implementation phase of, or the drafting phase, or some of them require longer periods, but a lot of interesting work happening and coming to the finish line, so that's great. So I didn't want to go too far into the legislative updates, but I'm happy to answer any questions about this presentation, and thank you for listening.
Great, thank you. Any questions from councilors? Councilor Hatch?
Thank you, Mayor McPhail. I'm just going to make a comment. I made it behind your back, so I'm going to make it in front of you. Again, I've been liaison for 2 years now. I think we've made incredible progress in the quality of what we do at the planning board level. It's a hard job, so we really appreciate you folks being prepared. You are obviously prepared when you come. Read the packets, you ask really good questions, and I think that's testimony to the folks that the mayor has been able to appoint and the council to approve. So I just wanted to publicly thank those of you who are here, and hopefully the other members are listening. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Anyone else on the council? Any questions or comments from the planning board members? Oh. See if that one.
I definitely don't want to go up there. But now it's working, of course. How about now? There we go. Okay. No, we've been working hard as a board and with Emily's help, and we're just excited to get it before council and get it before the board on a lot of these updates. We've been, as Councilor Hatch has mentioned, working pretty diligently on putting it together. So we're very close.
Great.
Any other board members?
Yeah. No, great. And I do appreciate all of the hard work and dedication that all of you have put in over the last couple of years as well. It certainly is paying off, and we look forward to Emily's change in role and bringing in a new planner and keeping that momentum going. So, okay. Guess that's it. That is all the updates. Great. Thank you very much, folks. I appreciate you guys coming in tonight.
Great, thank you.
Okay, would now like to call the official meeting to order at 6:38 p.m. Would like to make note of all councilors present this evening, including our interim city administrator, Emily Cole Prescott. Would you please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everyone. Okay, moving on to item number 3 this evening, we do have a general, and that is we are honored to have our state senator, Donna Bailey, with us, as well as ward representative, legislative representative Marshall Archer, to provide us with some legislative updates from Augusta. Still called you ward representative, Marshall. I apologize. Still got count.
It's a bigger ward. I thought I was going to be up here on my own. So we were asked to give you all an update on some of the bills that were passed this last session, as well as any bills that are carried over that you might want to just be keeping an eye on as we go forward. We were asked to cover 3 areas, housing and zoning, which you heard a little bit about already, as well as school bills, including school funding, and anything to do with shoreline. So we did divide this up, and Representative Copeland is supposed to join us. She's covering shoreline. If she is not able to make it, I think we can pinch hit. But Representative Archer has agreed to do the school and funding, and I'm going to do housing and zoning. Do you have a preference?
No,
Who
no
goes
preference
first?
at all.
Okay. I'll go ahead and go since I'm standing here. So as far as housing and zoning, I would just like to say, first of all, that kind of the overarching themes were twofold as far as bills that were passed as well as ones that are carried over. Those 2 themes are first and foremost to do whatever we could to incentivize and increase affordable housing stock. So a lot of the bills had to do with looking at impediments to developers or others putting forward affordable housing. The other theme is to try to preserve the affordable housing we already have. And a lot of that was focused on preservation of mobile home park communities. And ironically enough, I think you'll be hearing from our neighbors in a mobile home park community tonight. It wasn't planned this way, but sometimes those things just work out. But just keep in mind, those are kind of the 2 overarching themes that I picked up on when I kind of looked at the bills that we passed. So first, in regards to keeping what affordable housing we do have, and in particular preserving housing in mobile home park communities, we passed a lot of laws. A lot of them had to do with either giving money to or finding ways to give money in the future to the Mobile Home Park Preservation and Assistance Fund. And that's the fund that is housed at Maine State Housing, but allows mobile home park communities that want to purchase their park, where residents want to purchase their park. It helps them financially to be able to do that. We put $3 million into that fund, but we also passed a number of laws that assess per lot fees, that also assess some capital gains taxes, and that money would also go into the preservation fund. So trying to keep that going, as well as there is a bill on the special appropriations table to put more money in that fund should we find that it's needed. With the number of mobile home park communities where the residents are trying to buy their park, it may very well be that that fund will be depleted. And so there is a bill on the appropriations table to allow us to add to that again. We also updated the law having to do with residents buying the mobile home park and making it so that they, in fact, do have a true right of first refusal. You may remember the law that we passed last year, didn't have a true right of first refusal. They just had to be given an opportunity to make an offer, but the sellers could refuse that. Now the law is going to be, should the residents match the offer of the pending sale, that in fact the residents would have that right of first refusal and be able to purchase the park. So that was an important update. We also tried to give some incentives to sellers to sell to residents, as opposed to what we're seeing often are out-of-state equity and hedge funds and big corporations coming in and buying these parks. One of them, for example, is to exempt from the real estate transfer tax a sale to a resident-owned community, which can be considerable, considering that sometimes these parks sell for 20, 30, $40 million. So that both saves money for the purchasers, the residents, but also, you know, the seller has to pay half of that. So it's kind of, I call it kind of a carrot, you know, just saying, well, you don't have to sell to the residents, but boy, you're going to save a buttload of money if you do. So here's a little incentive for you to do that. We also extended the rent-to-own protections to mobile home purchasers. Currently, we have a lot of consumer protections for rent-to-own situations for real estate, and we just made sure to extend all of those for those buying mobile homes as well. We also strengthen the notice requirements and protections for owners if they attempt to increase rents and fees. I think you're going to hear a lot about that from the residents at Blue Haven because they got one of these notices. And we have discovered that as much as we did, we probably have to do more. And we are looking at that for the second session, but it is a start. And we also passed a law to improve the data collection around mobile home park communities so that we can get a better handle on what's going on. For example, the lot rents, you know, what is being charged for lot rent and other fees across the state. In addition, speaking of the real estate transfer tax, we also increased the real estate transfer tax on portions of properties sales over $1 million. And that money, again, is going to go into a fund for new first-time home buyers. We also eliminated the real estate transfer tax for first-time home buyers, and that is, again, for both the buyers and the sellers to both help first-time home buyers purchase a property and get into the housing market, because we all know that's the hardest thing is getting that first house, right? But again, also adding that incentive to sellers to say, well, if you sell to these first-time home buyers, we know you have a choice, for example, of who you sell to. You'll save a little bit of money because you won't have to pay the real estate transfer tax. So again, kind of using that carrot approach wherever we can. Then on the other side of trying to offer incentives and make it easier to build affordable housing, we did pass a number of bills to cut unnecessary red tape, amend zoning regulations, and updating development and financing laws to facilitate faster housing production. You heard about LD 1829, which is probably our biggest and most comprehensive bill that I can go through the highlights if you want me to. I don't know how much briefing you've had on that, but that really did look at it from many angles. And again, the idea is to make it easier for folks to build affordable housing. We also passed a law, it's a resolve, to look at categorizing and standardizing different building types, and that is due to report back on 11/4 of 2026. So that's a ways out. That's LD 546. We also updated the site location law other than LD 1829, making it clear that if you do new construction on a pre-approved plan, that doesn't trigger a new site location law application. There was some uncertainty around that, so we clarified that. We also updated in 1783 the Affordable Housing TIF. I don't know if the city has been using that yet, but we did update that and allow for a little carryover of the monies to make it a little more user-friendly, if you will, and again, incentivize municipalities to use the Affordable Housing TIF. sorry. Let's see, we also increased the amount for the Maine Historic Property Rehab Tax Credit for those who use that, and sometimes that can be used, again, for affordable housing, so we increased that amount. It hadn't gone up for quite some time. We established a working group to examine the types of red tape that may be unnecessarily slowing down production of housing. That is with the GOPIF office of the governor, and they're due to report back at the end of this year. So that may trigger some legislation once they do their report. Although I think a lot of what they were looking at was covered by 1829, but we'll see what else they might come up with. As far as other things that were carried over or kind of looking to the future, we did establish a real estate property tax relief task force. You may have read about that in the paper. And that's due to have its interim report in January of 2026. So we may have some legislation out of that. And then its final report is due in December of 2026. So that's going to be kind of ongoing, and you may want to keep up with that and monitor that. We also have on the special appropriations table 1167, which is a pilot program for nonprofit housing developers to rehabilitate existing aging stock, and that's a Maine State Housing Authority grant program. So we'll see if that gets funded, but that would be interesting. As far as other carryover bills, there are a few in the Housing and Economic Development Committee. A lot of them, I think, again, were actually covered in 1829, so I'm not sure what's going to happen with them. But 3 that I noted you might want to follow. And just as an aside, if you want to be on the interested parties list for the Housing and Economic Development Committee, you can just go to the committee's webpage and you go to mailing list, and then you can subscribe. Emily's looking at me. She's probably already subscribed, but all of you can as well, and so that you can keep track of what they are doing. That's probably the primary committee that's going to be dealing with housing and zoning issues, if that's what you're interested in. But 3 bills that are on their carryover list that may be of interest to you. One is 1806, an act to create a residential renter unit registry, and that would be set up that either a municipality could do it, or it would be housed at the Secretary of State's office if a municipality doesn't want to do it. So again, that hasn't been acted on yet, but I expect it will be acted on next session at the beginning of next year. Next is 1921. An act to create a statewide housing resolution board. This is a bill that is based on something that they set up in New Hampshire in 2020, and they've had pretty good success with. And this would be to set up an own special board as opposed to going to court for reviewing decisions of municipal reviewing authorities, such as the planning board, for example, to kind of streamline that process. So that's an interesting bill that you might want to follow. And then 1926, an act to require increased housing density or lower minimum lot sizes for workforce housing. And workforce housing is defined as being under 220% of the median income for the area. So that's another one you might want to just keep an eye on. And that's all I have, unless you do want me to go through kind of the different sections of 1829. I will say when I looked to try to find a condensed version, the best one I found was at the City of Auburn website. And they did a nice little chart. They also just kind of, it was geared towards Auburn, so they were like, well, do we have to do anything or don't we? So there's a section on that, but it's just a really good summary of the different sections of the law, because there are about 10 different little sections, all having impact. And again, I can go through those with you, or I'm happy to answer questions.
Okay, well, I guess there's a lot of information on that one. We'll start with Senator Bailey. Do we have any questions or comments or any additional information regarding any of the bills? Emily, would you like more information on H29, or are you all good?
I'm all set, thank you.
I'm sure Emily knows it inside and out.
Great, thank you for that update. I know that the Mayor's Coalition that I attend twice a month, as mayors, we're all been looking at all of these bills very closely. Auburn has been a great resource with that, and I appreciate the updates, and there's some carryovers, and it is all difference of opinions on some things and others. There was a lot this year, and there was a lot to take in, especially in the housing and zoning areas. And I do know a lot of municipalities, there are some issues, some concerns. Some of the smaller communities are going to be the hardest hit with some of these changes. So no, we do appreciate that update. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. And as you know, any of you, anytime can reach out to any of us, express your concerns, ask your questions. And if you do find that with the implementation of any of these laws that they need to be updated, changed, amended, certainly feel free to reach out anytime.
Thank you. All right. Next. Yep.
All right, perfect. I was tasked with looking at education policy. So first of all, it's my honor to address my former colleagues and my predecessor and neighbor. So it's good to see you all and staff members as well in your new role. Again, I looked at this past session with the legislation. I looked solely on the bills that passed. There are some carryover, but I really wanted the ones that are actually coming to fruition are those that are passed. This legislature enacted a comprehensive package of education-related laws that will shape the future of our schools, from the classroom environment to student support services, funding, transparency, and workforce development. While education in Maine is by statute primarily under the authority of our local school board, I believe it's important to share these legislative updates with the City Council. My goal tonight is to give you a 50,000-foot level of the changes at the state level and to highlight possible financing and planning impacts that the Council should be aware as stewards of the city's fiscal health. So I broke it down into a few type of different categories, and I will email this to you. So if you're taking notes, I've already broken it down LD. You've got a nice little one page. We all like one pages of the information and just summaries of each one of these bills. But related to student health and learning environments, we had LD 11 regarding school temperatures. There's going to be a minimum and a maximum that has to be implemented into the school buildings. 1887, it's a resolve to improve air quality and ventilation in newly constructed schools. Very relevant to both our school board and the financiers. LD 1248, an act regarding physical escorts and restraints and seclusion of students in schools. So it's just to update policies on how we handle these types of behaviors and the need for restraints if necessary. It's always best to not need restraints, especially physical, but there are times where it's needed for the safety of all students present. There was a resolve to adopt some standards related to kids having seizures in the school system. Things related to student support and stability. 384, which was an act to prevent student homelessness. It creates a framework for student homelessness and improve educational stability for these students. LD 1858, an act to promote local seafood in schools. It's literally what it is. It's to bring in local seafood distributors into our nutrition and really focusing on using our partners, our ecosystem and economic partners to feed our children. School government finance and governance, you had 318, which was a resolve to look at the funding formula. Again, that comes up, I think, a lot. I presented a bill and it got killed, but it was good discussion and a good way to learn on the learning curve as the most freshman representative to our delegation. We also looked at an act regarding unallocated balances in the school administrative unit, and passed another law, an act to establish the Maine Charter School Commission as a publicly instrumental of the state. Again, it strengthens the independence and authority of our state charter school commission. Higher education, again, yet I looked at all education, so this is looking more towards the college, universities, and other workforce career pathways. We passed an act to include school counselors in the Education for Maine programs. It expands loan forgiveness eligibility to our school counselors. So it's a workforce development credit to kind of try to get people into the field and keeping them there, and also making education more affordable. LD 375 was a resolve to look at distance learning, less Saco-centric. It's for the law school program. What else was there? 1327, a resolve to study student-teacher compensation. And 651, an act to codify the Maine Healthcare Loan Repayment Pilot Program. So again, we have local hospitals that could definitely impact our local workforce. And the last one I looked at was an act to develop the credentialed workforce, which creates pathways in credentialed workforce opportunities, continuing education to employment in high-demand fields. It's important to note that while many credentialed programs are university community college systems, there are credentials that you can use alternative academic pathways to get, and it's important for our students to know that these pathways exist. Taken together, the more than 20 laws represent a broad investment in Maine's educational system. They touch every level of K to 12 classrooms, higher education, student health, and workforce development. While day-to-day implementation of these policies rests with our local school boards, it's essential that the City Council remain aware of these changes. Many have a downstream effect on municipal budgets, capital planning, or long-term financial obligations, particularly in areas like school construction, which we all know, funding transparency, and student support services. As your representative and my fellow delegation of colleagues, we will continue to advocate for Saco's interests at the State House and ensure that the community is well positioned to adapt to these changes. I look forward to working with Council and our school department to support both our students and our taxpayers. Thank you for your time, and it was good seeing you all. I will re-email this to the Council's email at whole, and I'll include our clerk. That way we can get it into the minutes, and
Thank you.
our citizens can see it. Do you have any questions?
Any questions for Representative Archer?
Yeah, go.
Was it Councilor Hatch?
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor McPhail. Yeah, I'm just, I'm trying to think of the taxpayers. And so I just heard a significant amount of housing initiatives to drive, presumably to drive costs down. Mm-hmm. But there's no guarantee that a market rate developer will pass those savings on to the consumer.
Okay.
Okay? And in this market, my economic training tells me that is unlikely to happen. So that's a problem. And then that problem continues to drive property values up, which connects to the school funding formula. And I hear nothing about what the state is hoping to do to help municipalities deal with this issue, because it's going to be an added burden to our taxpayers, and then we're going to be responsible for pushing that on. I don't know enough about all the details, but I just want to get that comment, that high-level comment out. It seems like there's a disconnect here, and I would encourage you to try to connect a little bit better, and if you're going to drive fees down and cost downs, cost of construction down, there has to be a way to try to ensure that that gets passed on to the consumer. And I don't know how to do that. Okay, I'm just saying we're gonna there seems to be a lot of unintended consequences in this conversation. Okay.
Yeah.
And it takes a high degree of serious critical thinking to uncover those unintended consequences and then try to mitigate the risks. Otherwise, we're going to continue to be passing costs on to our taxpayers, and of course, we're also sitting here watching our local authority to govern our own zoning and comp plan being stripped away from us by the folks in Augusta. So those are just some high-level comments coming from me, and concerns that I just would like to get out in front of the three of you.
Well, I'll speak on behalf of myself, not necessarily the delegation or the legislation ourselves, but we do know that the legislation has continuously passed a 55% reimbursement. However, we're not getting that when it gets down to appropriations. That's my understanding. That the legislation still has committed to that 23-year-old law now, give or take. So we do have that still there. We are looking for ways to fund the local schools as necessary. There were a few bills that are trying to look at that. Addressing homelessness is, again, can you take the burden off the city to then allow those funds to go where they need. The other thing is that what I know we've been paying attention is the school construction. That is still, to my knowledge, 100% going. That train is not stopping, and you've got my continued support on making sure that the school construction is appropriately funded and the reimbursements come as the contract presented. It's only fair. Did I answer all your questions? It's very complicated.
No, I get it.
But
it's a moving target. There's lots of opinions, lots of hands in the soup. But I really think that hopefully whatever comes out of it, the folks who have made these decisions have thought through the consequences. And the consequences that I'm concerned about sitting here on this dais is how are we going to push that on to our taxpayers who are already, stretched quite a ways.
Yes.
More density brings more people, more pressure on infrastructure. There's a whole bunch of stuff going there that could be very consequential.
And I'm not afraid to say it, but I'm also concerned of what the federal DOE could possibly do, because any cuts federal DOE that do not come to the state will not come to the city. That would lead to federal administration DOE funds could present additional barriers, but I am watching that. To my knowledge, the Department of Education is not being disbanded at this time, and I would be a strong advocate not to. But yeah, there are many pressures that I'm looking at specifically related to that, and do the best we can with what we got.
Thank you. Councilor Hewitt?
Quick question. It sounds like there's a bunch of new laws that are going to affect the schools. Given that recently there was some reports that Maine ranked last for education nationally, is there any initiatives or other programs going on at the state level to help the local school boards?
I do not remember any. I'm just looking at a time this first session. I looked at it more as a point in time. I don't remember any quality bills that even were presented. I'm drawing a blank. I was only looking at those that passed. But I can definitely look into it. But yeah.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Appreciate your attempt at putting your bill to help with the funding and the
Yes.
homelessness.
Had a high bill to
Yes.
it. So.
Yeah. But during that whole conversation and process, were there more representatives and was there a lot of discussion? Was it positive discussion? That even though that bill may have not as passed now, is it something that will continue going forward?
I believe
kind of tweak.
I won't speak to future legislations, but based on what I've heard, what I've seen historically, I think it's still a conversation that's going to continue.
Some eyes were open, realizing that the struggle that some of the municipalities are going through based on this.
Yes, and I think, did Senator Chip's bill get amended to add more money? That's the one that gave us, I believe, $1,000 of resources. Something. I'll double check on that one. Okay. But that was a past that's still in play.
Yeah, good. Okay, great. Thank you.
I would just say to that, I think there's a general consensus from what I'm picking up around Augusta, two things that, yes, the school funding formula needs a hard look and an overhaul, as well as the school construction funding and the way that's allocated. They are looking at the construction first, because that's kind of the more immediate need, because literally there are schools, falling apart in parts of our state. But I think there is general consensus and an appetite to do a deep dive and really look at the whole school funding formula and the way it's set up.
Good. Thank you. That's positive. Okay, we appreciate that. Welcome, Representative Copeland.
Thank you very much. Thank you for letting us speak before you. I appreciate all the work that you guys do. I know how hard it was. I was in that seat at one time, and you really give up yourselves, and I appreciate it, every one of you. And our esteemed Honorable Mayor McPhail has been out in the community and just doing all kinds of great things for our city, and I appreciate that. That's from me. I've got some updates on bills pending or passed into law during the first half of the 32nd legislature related to Saco's shoreline. And I, like Representative Archer, we were asked to focus on this past session, well, this first part of this session. I only have a few. LD 228, which is an act to allow coastal seawalls to be raised by up to 2 feet in order to accommodate predicted sea level rise, is now Chapter 122 Public Law. And great thanks to Senator Bailey for getting that going, and I think that our whole delegation supports it. The second one I have is an act to update the definition of coastal wetlands under the Natural Resources Protection Act and the mandatory shoreline zoning laws. That's LD, or legislative document number 65, which is now Chapter 28 Public Law. And there's also LD 560, and this is one that has been carried over to our next session, which is January to April. An act to authorize the general fund bond issue to improve coastal climate resiliency. Again, this is led by Senator Bailey, and thank you for all the hard work. Back in the 130th legislature, we're in the 132nd now, LD 946 was made into law under Chapter 85 Resolves. I would like to remind you that in 2021, Governor Mills approved this measure regarding shore damage mitigation project in Saco Bay, and it remains in effect. So there were people who were, I was hearing different things from, saying that, you know, it's over when that session is over. Well, it's not. This is, I had the analyst in the State House look at it, and I also had a review from one of my neighbors. And it is definitely still in effect. So the beach plantings, we still have state resources. And you know, there's other things in that as well, but I just wanted to let you know that that still is active. All we need is somebody to act on it. All right, well, what else is going on? There's a lot going on. But I'm going to restrict my remarks to the legislation. And I know that Saco, Save Our Shores Saco Bay has done a great job in communicating what's going on that's in their purview, and I appreciate their great communication on Facebook, which I really go on, but they've been fantastic, and I applaud their work. Well, thank you for the opportunity to present these state bills this evening regarding Saco's shoreline. I'm happy to answer any questions the council may have.
Thank you. Council Berman.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you, Representative Copeland, for the update. I do have a quick question on the LD 560, the carried over bonding bill, and 2 questions. One is, do you guys have any sense of the likelihood of that passage and what the level of support is? And second, I know there were some questions about whether counties would be eligible to apply for funds under that bill, and I know that's critical. You know, down here in York County, the county is doing a bunch of our work and bringing us up to Category B and eventually G, resilience. So that would be really important for us down here in some of the work we're trying to do. So I'm curious if any of you have any status updates on where we are with those initiatives.
All right, I'm going to defer to Senator Bailey. She's in the weeds on this and knows every detail.
That's okay. So as far as your first question, the likelihood of passage, I mean, typically what happens is in the second session, all the bonds are kind of discussed, and there are deals that are made, right? Because in order to put a bond out to the people, you have to get 2/3 of the legislature to support it. So typically what happens is, both sides of the aisle will get together and say, well, we really care about X, Y, and Z, and we really care about A, B, and C. Let's see, we'll support yours if you support ours type of thing. So the answer is I don't know if this will be prioritized, but it is a heavy lift because it does require 2/3 of the legislature. As far as the second question, yes, counties would be allowed. We also, under LD1, we made sure that counties could apply for those grants as well, but this bond as well, and I am frequently heard at the State House to say, oh, could you amend that bill to include counties? And I think they're starting to hear it, that not just municipalities need to be included, but that counties do as well. So it is included in this bond.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you. The role of counties, I think, is changing in Maine. That and they're increasing the role that they play in our lives, especially down here in New York. They've been great partners for us. And just for anybody listening, this is really critical to protect our shoreline. We're seeing huge damage in storms, and the ability of our county to get these funds to do the work that they're trying to do and planning for now is just really essential. So anything we can do to help, please let us know.
Thank you for the question, Councilor Berman. Also, these have already been heard and have hearings. So a lot of the work is done, and like Senator Bailey said, that it's still a work in progress, and it's not over till it's over. So as a legislator, our jobs are to advocate for bills that align with our commitment to our constituents, and so it's not over till it's over, but we don't have, a magic glass. The thing is that there are things that are going to happen before then. We're going to get some reports on revenue. That changes everything. So the more money there is, the more things that we can do with it that make sense.
And that also goes to, even though, everybody got a list of the carryover bills, so if there is anything of importance now, either reach out to our representatives or to me as a coalition of mayors. We're always taking these items as well to Augusta, the concerns of the municipalities, and even ones that we might disagree with or aren't too happy with that may have already passed. They're still important to watch because it doesn't mean that we can't ask for an amendment a year or two down the road as we see how they unfold. And this year, thank you, all three of you, for an amazing year. It was a busy, hectic, very tedious year for you. There was a lot of activity up there. It was good work, yes, but I'm sure very exhausting. And there was a lot that came out this year. And I think it's really important that everybody do kind of pay attention and keep some updates. So.
And I have my business cards, and you can find me online, I'm sure. I'm an open door. Call me if you need anything, if you have an idea that you want to put forward. That's what we can do for you. So use us.
Yeah.
Thank you. I just want to add on to Councilor Berman's, what he brought forward. I think the key is messaging. So I represent District 129, which does not touch the ocean at all. So why do I care? I can tell you why I care personally, is that any funds that the city of Saco does not have to pay because we're using other resources doesn't come out of my tax money, the general fund. So if we grab $2 million here, $1 million there, that's $2 or $1 more million that you have access to decide what you do. That's why I care, and I believe I co-sponsored co-sponsored one of yours. I think it was the general fund that was way back in February. So my mind, I'm realizing, oh, I get older, and the busier I get, the less I retain. But that's what's key. So again, I mentioned messaging. So I just messaged to you the why for me. It saves my constituents in District 129 money because you all will have to tax them if we don't get this money. It applies to the county. So if you're a city not on the ocean, but we all chip into the county's budget, and you use that money to do what you don't have a bond for or other allocations of resources, we all have to pay. So again, I think it's the messaging, is you find those legislators, you find those people to say, hey, I recognize this doesn't directly impact you, it indirectly impacts you, and this is why. And I think that's how you can get more buy-in. I'm confident that we'll get this bond. I'm confident because we do have many communities on a conservative side who live on oceans too. And they don't want the ocean in their backyard unless it's a nice view. I mean, literally in the backyard. And I think they would want storm walls to prevent anything. So I think it's really about the messaging. Get the federal money when you can. Go for the state. From a city perspective, try to grab from the county when you can, but sometimes we do have to all team up and just say, hey, this is a collective. It will affect our taxes on our property taxes if we don't do anything. So I think that's why I definitely support it, but I think it's really about messaging to get across the finish line next session. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Any final words? All right. Thank you all. We do appreciate all the work you're doing and appreciate the time you took tonight to come visit. Thank you. Okay, moving on to item number 5. That is committee correspondence to council. Are there any committee members wishing to speak? Councilor Edwards.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Age-friendly Saco has been very busy. There's some good news. After a thorough search process, Age-friendly Saco is thrilled to announce the appointment of Rebecca, hopefully I'm getting the last name correct here, Hadiaras, as the new Executive Director of Age-Friendly Saco effective October 21st, 2025. Becky brings over 20 years of experience in supporting older adults and caregivers through strategic programs, community-based services, and collaborative advocacy. Her expertise in fostering inclusive, accessible communities aligns perfectly with Age-Friendly Saco's mission to make Saco a welcoming place for all people of all ages. Under her guidance, they anticipate continued growth in the initiatives, including enhanced transportation options, health and wellness programs, and intergenerational activities. Also, the Age-Friendly Saco will be sponsoring the Wellness Fair, and it'll be held again this year at Thornton Academy. The fair will be held on November 8th, starting at 9:30 a.m. Free donuts and coffee and lunch is provided in addition to a vendor fair and seminars. Registration is required. They also have they have a meal on October 9th at the Elks Club. You can call to register for either event at their office, and that phone number is 207-710-5029. As a reminder, it's hard as you're older to make friends. If you have friends, you can bring them along, but if you don't, go to these events, you'll find some. And last but not least, Age-Friendly Saco will be hosting the Sand Buckets for Seniors event in collaboration with Thornton Academy on Saturday, November 15th. Anyone interested in receiving a bucket of treated sand should call the office at same number, 207-710-5029, to request one. Thank you.
Thank you, and congratulations to Rebecca. We're happy to work with her and looking forward to that. Anyone else? Okay, moving on to item number 6. Oops, I'm sorry. Oh, Councilor Johnston.
Thank you. I put it up late. Just a couple updates to council, really. The end of August, I forget the exact date, Traffic Safety and BPED had a joint meeting. It was a workshop where I think it was about 3 hours, maybe longer, where we built a matrix for the transportation master plan of the areas that, ranking, the areas that most are in need of infrastructure upgrades. I've personally thought it went well. I don't know about others, but I thought it was highly productive. So I know I had mentioned that prior. Just wanted to give an update that we did hold it, and I felt it was productive. And then last Thursday, we had traffic safety meeting, full agenda. I want to say that was close to 3 hours. And I mean, the issues or requests really were throughout, rural parts of Saco to the more dense areas. And again, just as an update or information, we're seeing more and more of these requests. And, personally, I view it as, the challenges we're facing with a growing community. So I just, I increased the budget back in May for these expenditures, but it's looking like we're going to spend that rather quickly. And so just kind of an update that I am anticipating that we'll probably have many more requests going forward as we start seeing some of these things implemented. So thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, moving on to item number 6. That is public comment this evening. If you wish to address council, please step forward to the podium, state your name and address for the record, and you do have 3 minutes to address.
Hello, thank you for having us. I am Kathy. I brought Brian, Rodney, and Sarah with me, and we are residents of Blue Haven Mobile Park. We are on the committee to help organize how residents respond to the letter we received from Blue Haven ownership on regards to our second law increase this year. We are currently in the process of forming a tenants association to make communication with park ownership easier. However, but that has not gone well because the representative is not always available due to split duties between properties, and they're out of state, and we don't know who to really contact. I also want to thank Mayor McPhill, Representative Gunn, Representative Bailey for attending our recent tenant meeting and listening to concerns of our residents. Blue Haven, we appreciate your willingness to engage directly with the community. It still continues to be a grassroots effort in keeping the community informed. We're here tonight because we are asking the City Council to pass a temporary moratorium for our lot rent increase in the community. This urgent request comes from our notice we received from the out-of-state firm that owns Blue Haven, informing us of the rent hike scheduled for December 1st of this year. This increase, reportedly as high as $145 per month, is a 28% increase for a majority of the residents, and nearly 5 times higher than typical annual increases. We have some letters from residents showing their concerns regarding the lot increase. However, the fear of retaliation, they don't feel comfortable talking to park ownership. For many residents, especially veterans, disabled, seniors, and those on fixed incomes, it's not just a financial burden, it's a crisis. This increase comes in the wake of the new state law that's intended to protect mobile home parks and residents from excessive hikes that goes into effect Wednesday, which does not take into consideration, I believe, affordable housing. The law includes provision for mediation. However, we received a response from our landlord after sending our request for mediation saying that we're not eligible for said mediation, even though the letter we got in the mail states that we could do mediation if we met certain requirements, which we have. We have over 75% of homeowners signed on to our mediation. So, with that unrealistic timeline they have given to push this mediation forward and the grassroots effort, we cannot meet their deadline for mediation. And I'm going to turn it over to Brian because he has more on this topic. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Brian LaRoche. Thank you for letting me take over where Kathy left off.
You could just state your address as well.
Oh, yeah,
Brian,
I live
please.
at 19 Meserve Circle. The letter Kathy mentioned we received mentioned the rent increases were based on aggregate rent based on the Northeast CPI-based calculations from the Labor Bureau of Standards, and it went on, and it was actually, it was tough to follow. It wasn't really clear. So with these outlines and demands from the folks have not been outlined by the Blue Haven ownership in that letter. The laws lack clear enforcement mechanism by the state, leaving these vulnerable residents like ourselves without reliable path to challenge these hikes. Currently, as Kathy said, we're not looking for permanent rent control at this time. We're simply looking for a temporary moratorium to allow our city and state to do a few things. One is to understand and interpret the new state laws in a way that protects the residents. Two is to develop a local ordinance or enforcement framework to ensure compliance and fairness. The third is to further prevent financial harm to seniors, veterans, disabled, and families who make up the majority of our park and are really struggling to make ends meet at this particular time. Other communities in Maine, like Sanford, Waterville, Old Orchard Beach, have already taken this step. We urge our city to follow their lead and act swiftly. Without this moratorium, we risk the predatory rent increases to continue to be unchecked, undermining the intent of state law and putting these vulnerable residents at risk of displacement. An independent third party reporting further states the following: decreased property valuation due to increased lot fees, decreases the home's values, leaving the residents to have to sell below market value just to be competitive in what we sell. These values are as much as 30% less than what the traditional homes would be or in other parks just because of these fees. And I apologize for jumping around. I was making notes as I was listening to Senator Bailey. To support this claim, the real estate market and associated economic factors, including low inventory and high interest rates and other factors, many of the residents are having a harder time selling their homes due to these drastic increases and many other economic circumstances that are applying. What's happening is the affordable housing is rapidly becoming unaffordable. We thank you for your time and consideration of this urgent request to protect our community. If you need any information, we'd be happy to meet with you, supply you with any information that you need, and I'm sure we'll be coming back to speak with you folks as often as we can. We look forward to your help. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Rodney Champagne. I am a resident of the Blue Haven community. What I'd like to speak to right now is not as a committee member, but as a living resident of that community, let you know what I and many of us are going through. So if I may, I'd just like to start the evening out with, I'll try to be brief. I'm a lifelong resident of the city of Saco, born, raised, everything here. I love my city of Saco. Thornton Academy, excuse me, graduate of Thornton Academy. However, I was unable to attend college. So I went into, as I was a member of a family of mill workers and machine shop workers, I went into the same trade. It took me some time to acquire enough education and preciseness to get somewhere in that trade. But I managed to do it, and I married a local girl and raised a great family. But now, as I'm in my senior years, and I'm somewhat limited in what I can do, what I can find myself, I now find myself trying to survive on a fixed income of a modest Social Security benefit and nothing else. I used most of my savings to pay off my mortgage, thinking, okay, I've got this house for life. But now I'm being priced out of it. I recently secured a part-time job after being retired for 13 years, I believe, cleaning homes and doing laundry. It's not easy for me, but I'm going to do what I can. I could barely make ends meet, and then this came along, another rent increase. At this time, my rent increase is $145 a month. No Social Security addition is going to meet that. It's approximately 28% of my current rate. With every rent increase, as Brian said, with every rent increase we've seen, our home's resale value go down. because people can't afford to come in there unless they can get a real good price. In closing, I'd just like to say that we have been given no true justification of this ridiculous increase. I ask you, my city officials, to come to my rescue, come to our rescue. And I'm not alone in this situation. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Linda Babbitt. I live at 5 Robin Street. This rent increase, I get $1,239 a month on my retirement. They want to up it. I pay now $550. They want to up it to $660. That's more than half my check. And there's no reason other than they want to expand it and put bigger, better trailers in there. But I have where else to go. I mean, it's... And the part about the park is, it's safe. I can go out at night and walk. I love to look at the stars. It's safe. Neighbors look out for neighbors. Everybody's friendly. And now they have more kids in there, which is great because it says new life. And I just hope you reconsider, can do something about it. I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, my name is Ray Halzick. I also live in the Blue Haven Community Park. I'm recently moved in there 4 months ago, and they slammed me with a $750 a month rent fee. Bang. I'm a disabled veteran. I've worked hard all my life, just like most of us have. So with that being said, I mean, I feel bad for people that are just on Social Security, and that's a fixed income, and they don't have anything else coming in. So I feel bad for them, so that's all I have. And thank you for your time.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak? Okay, not seeing anyone seeking recognition. Moving on to item number 7, that is the approval of the minutes. We do have 3 dates here. We have September 8th of 2025, September 9th, 2025, and September 15th, 2025. Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Motion made by Councilor Hatch. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilor Hewitt. Any discussion on the minutes? Okay, not seeing any. Roll call vote. Councilor Edwards?
Yes.
Councilor Parks?
Yes.
Councilor Gunn?
Yes.
Councilor Berman?
Yes.
Councilor Hatch?
Yes.
Councilor Hewitt?
Yes.
And Councilor Johnston?
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0. Okay, item 8, there are no consent items this evening. Item 9, under action items, item A is 1 reading. The City Street Acceptance Request per Chapter 186 Standards, Amari Court and Doopy Drive in the Amari Springs subdivision, and that is Councilor Parks.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Jason Labonte of Home Innovations LLC requests City Street Acceptance Review per Chapter 186 of City Ordinance for Amari Court and Doopy Drive with associated project infrastructure as indicated on the subdivision plan. The Planning Board approved the Amari Springs subdivision on October 24th, 2023. These roads were designed to public city street standards. The punch list issued from Public Works has been completed. The draft documentation is pending final legal review with the city's current city attorney. Pending additional information, the motion is to table the motion to the next meeting, October 6, 2025.
Motion has been made by Councilor Parks to table. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilor Edwards. Roll call vote. Councilor Edwards?
Yes.
Councilor Parks?
Yes.
Councilor Gunn?
Yes.
Councilor Berman?
Yes.
Councilor Hatch?
Yes.
Councilor Hewitt?
Yes.
And Councilor Johnston?
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0. Okay, moving on to item B, that is the public hearing for the renewal application of a special entertainment permit for the Biddeford Saco Elks Lodge number 1597, and that is Councilor Gunn.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Bedford Saco Elks Lodge number 1597 has applied for the renewal of their special entertainment permit. The permit will be concurrent with the establishment's liquor license. The applicant has paid all applicable permit fees, and the clerk has properly advertised the public hearing in accordance with the Saco City Code, Chapter 93, Entertainment, subsection 93-2. The clerk has also checked with Code Enforcement, Finance Department, Fire Department, and Police Department, and there were no concerns. I move to open the public hearing.
Motion has been made by Councilor Gunn to open the public hearing. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilor Parks, I think is the top one I heard. Public hearing is now open. If there are any members of the public wishing to speak on this item. Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you. Roll call vote. Councilor Edwards?
Yes.
Councilor Parks?
Yes.
Councilor Gunn?
Yep.
Councilor Berman?
Yes.
Councilor Hatch?
Yes.
Councilor Hewitt?
Yes.
And Councilor Johnston?
Yes.
Motion to open the public hearing passes 7-0. Public hearing is now open. If there are any members of the public wishing to speak, please step forward, state your name and address for the record, and you will have 3 minutes to address the council. Okay, not seeing any members seeking recognition. Councilor Gunn?
Thank you. I move to close the public hearing and be it ordered that the City Council grant the renewal application submitted by Bedford Saco Elks Lodge number 1597 for a special entertainment permit to be concurrent with the establishment's liquor license. Set to expire on November 6, 2026. I move to approve the order.
Thank you. Motion has been made by Councilor Gunn. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilor Edwards. Any discussion on the item? Okay, roll call vote. Councilor Edwards?
Yes.
Councilor Parks?
Yes.
Councilor Gunn?
Yes.
Councilor Berman?
Yes.
Councilor Hatch?
Yes.
Councilor Hewitt?
Yes.
And Councilor Johnston?
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0. Okay, moving on to item C, that is one reading, is the follow-up from the Citizen Grievance Review Committee for the Planning Board Standard Operating Procedure, and that is Councilor Hatch.
Thank you, Mayor McPhail. On July 28, 2025, the City Council accepted the final report of the Saco Citizens Grievance Review Committee with follow-up actions to be scheduled at future meetings. Recommendation number 2 of that report was to update the Planning Board's current Standard Operating Procedures, or SOP, document. According to Section 4-34C6 of the City Code, the Board shall file its rules for procedure with the City Clerk and shall amend these by majority vote as needed. Revisions to the Planning Board's SOP were included in the Board's August 19th, September 2nd, and September 16th meeting packets. On September 16th, the Board approved the enclosed SOP as amended. This SOP reflects the updates requested in recommendation number 2 of the Saco Citizens Grievance Review Committee's final report. Be it ordered that the Saco City Council acknowledge receipt of the Planning Board Standard Operating Procedures document revised through September 16th, 2025, and further move that recommendation number 2 of the final report is now complete. I move to approve the order.
Thank you. Motion has been made by Councilor Hatch. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilor Gunn. Any discussion or comments on this item? Councilor Johnston, then Councilor Hewitt.
It's odd, only because I have a minor edit to their SOP. It's just aligning it with charter, but under item 8, I guess it is, appointments and resignation, we updated charter a couple years back to include city council on resignation.
Okay, so that just needs to be updated to match. Yep. Okay, Councilor Johnston, what exactly do we need to, you want?
Well, I'm just making note of it because I don't really think I have the authority to update their planning board's SOP, but I think
Yep.
a friendly amendment would just be to include council on the requirement for when planning board resigns, which is what charter states.
Okay, under the resignation,
Yeah.
resignation, that's what you're specifying, okay.
Correct.
Hey, Administrator Prescott, do you have that notated?
I do. Thank you, Madam Mayor. We'll bring it back to the planning board with that item noted. Is it possible that the council can still move forward tonight, though, with?
Yes,
Okay,
just for,
thank you.
yeah, for a noted update like that, we should be able to move forward without any amendment. Are you okay with that, Councilor Johnson? All
yes.
set? Okay, perfect. Any other questions or comments, or, yep, Councilor Hewitt?
Just a quick question. I'm looking at the appointments. I don't see anything here that limits who can be appointed to the position of chair or the number of people from certain professions. I know that was discussed previously. That was not addressed in this document, correct?
That was not brought forward as an
Okay.
amendment or anything at this point, so this is written based on what was provided. We have not brought that forward. It has not been brought forward. If that were to change, then that would be updated.
Okay, thank you. Just wanted to verify that.
Yep. Anyone else? Councilor Hatch?
Thank you, Mayor McPhail. Just a point of high-level clarification, the ad hoc committee cited issues relative to public comment and training, and those were both addressed in this updated SOP. I will note that I participated in a training session last Tuesday night with Attorney Saucier was here, taking everybody through FOIA and ethics training, and everybody was asked to sign an acknowledgement in accordance with this existing SOP. So from my perspective, I think both those issues have been properly addressed.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, not seeing anyone. Roll call vote. Councilor Edwards?
Yes.
Councilor Parks?
Yes.
Councilor Gunn?
Yes.
Councilor Berman?
Yes.
Councilor Hatch?
Yes.
Councilor Hewitt?
Yes.
And Councilor Johnston?
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0. Thank you very much. Okay, moving on to item number 10, that is new business, and we do have a follow-up from the Citizen Grievance Review Committee on the City Code of Ethics. And Administrator Prescott, do you? Okay.
Thank you. What I've done here is we've been trying to follow up on the sections of the Grievance Review Committee, and I've asked our HR Director, Hunter Cox, to join us this evening as well. This is relative to recommendation number 3 of the final report from the Grievance Ad Hoc Committee, Subcommittee. And this really is, he's going to share with you, Director Cox is going to share with you a template form that one could use to submit a code of ethics or conduct concern, because that was one of the items that was unclear on how to submit a concern. And then the other aspect of it was training as far as how to use it in the future. So as far as the first thing, he's worked on a form. We can ask him to come up if you'd like, Madam Mayor, and share the form on the screen. And as far as training, we will be asking our city attorney to build this into her training when she comes to speak with you when we do the training in December.
Thank you. Director Cox, would you like to come up and present?
Thank you, Madam Mayor and members of the council. So Administrator Cole Prescott approached me, and we're kind of in the workshopping stage of this right now. Some things that we're considering when we're looking at access is we want to have it easy, accessible by the public without a whole lot of hassle. So one of the things we're looking at is we have a code of ethics page here, and it's under councils and committees, boards and committees. Eventually, we will probably put something in here in the how do I, because this seems to be where a lot of that kind of thing goes for submitting FOAA requests, similar type of things. So right now, we have a template for a form that we're kind of working on. There's a lot of legal considerations that go into things like this. We have a Freedom of Access Act information and Whistleblower Act, things that we have to comply by. So this is just the basic template of the form. We'll be giving copies to the City Council to review. It allows our residents to enter a complaint, to put their contact information, whether they're a city employee, kind of what the description of the complaint is. And then this, when it gets submitted, we're still working on where that's going to get submitted to. Right now, we're kind of workshopping, maybe it's all going to go to HR, because we're kind of the guardians of private information. So from HR, it'll go to the appropriate parties, depending on who the complaint is about. So obviously, we have a little bit more work to do on this, but I'd welcome any questions, concerns. If you like, if this is the way you want to go, or if you think we should look in other directions.
Great. Thank you. Any questions or comments for Director Cox? Councilor Berman?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor, and thank you, Director. I appreciate the work quite a bit. I guess I do have just a couple of maybe high-level questions and maybe a couple of detailed questions. I very much appreciate making it easier for the public to communicate concerns and issues they have. I'm also concerned about the effects of spurious complaints on people's careers and officials, so I'm just curious about how the city's thinking about that balance. Second, I'm wondering to whom this applies. Is it city officials? Is it city officials and elected officials? Is it volunteers and board members? And just kind of the intent of some of that. And then I guess the third kind of high-level question is, you mentioned FOIA requests, and I'm curious when a complaint like this may be subject to public disclosure, and especially around boards and commission members that aren't employees. Therefore, I think it's maybe not an employee record, but I'm not the legal expert. So I'm just curious if you can talk a little bit more about that too.
Yeah, of course. So we're going to make it very clear that this is a very specific form for a very specific purpose. This isn't I have a pothole in my road and the public works director won't respond to me kind of a thing. That never happens, by the way. We have an excellent public works director. But it's specifically for ethics complaints where the members of the public feel like an ethics violation has been made. And we have the ethics code. They can review that. And so there are things that we can do to kind of limit superfluous things. And as we go, we're going to work that out with the IT department and things like that. So that'll be a process. As far as FOA requests, most things are a public record. There are specific things that are not, personal information, social security numbers, birth dates, stuff like that. But the public does need to know that when you file these complaints that a large part of them will be subject to the public record. Anonymous complaints, they're troublesome. And so whether or not we'll allow anonymous complaints is something that the council will have to take up. That will obviously probably limit the amount of people that are submitting. But there is a great amount of FOA information, and that's going to be included in the form. Those instructions and those disclaimers are there. We also have whistleblower things for employees that report that have to be combined in that as well.
Thank you. That's helpful. I guess one of my concerns is that sometimes a committee, commission, and I could talk more about that, about who it applies to, but also a decision not going your way doesn't necessarily imply that it was an unethical decision. And so I just want to make sure there's some protections against complaints of that nature. This person must be conflicted. They must, whatever it is that may not rise to an ethical complaint, but may spur some
If you look at the
Bill
top of the
Felix.
form, we refer them to the ethics code before they file these complaints to ensure that they are ethical complaints.
And that would be something like a pre-review. Once it's submitted, you or somebody else would be designated to kind of review it to see if it then gets passed on to the next.
Yeah,
level.
and that's, we're kind of absent a city administrator. They're obviously going to be a big part of this. Emily's working with me, but, we feel we really want to have input from our new administrator when they take that job. So, yeah, we'll be working on that kind of chain of command. The different people that may be reported on, where does that information go? How is that information protected? And then how is that information acted on afterwards?
Thank you. Anyone else?
Madam Mayor, if I can just
Yes,
add to that.
please.
So we're not going to wait till someone else is on board to get the form up. We're going to put the form up. We're going to work together to finish up this form. If there's any comments, please provide them now. And then what we'll do is we will tweak the form and ask for input and any, input on the code of ethics and the form itself when the new city administrator comes on board. But we want to make sure that we're fulfilling what the final report recommended, and we don't want to have that pending too long. So this will definitely be a step in the right direction. It might not be perfect, but it's a good step, and we can vet it out from there.
Thank you. Councilor Hatch?
Thank you, Mayor McPhail. And Councilor Berman, thank you for broadening the scope of this. I think it's really, really important. Here's a suggestion for you, that perhaps we not only indicate please review the Saco Code of Ethics Conduct Policy before completing this form, but also submit specific issues that you're complaining about and any evidence that you may have to support the claim. Put the onus on the person who's complaining. And I think that in this process, you could use that as a basis for tossing aside a complaint that doesn't have any merit. Because to Councilor Berman's point, we can get all kinds of people complaining about all kinds of different things that are figments of their imagination. And that was, I don't think, was ever the intent of this process. So I would highly recommend that we put a great deal of responsibility on the person who's complaining to be factual, to be not only reviewing the code of ethics, but to tell us exactly what aspect of that you think is being violated. And that way, I think it can give us some preliminary opportunity to weed through these things. I only say this, I just had to go through this with I was involved in an automobile accident that was not my fault, but it was significant damage to a relatively new vehicle, and I had to submit a diminished value claim because I sincerely believed that that was a factor in the settlement, and I had to follow a very specific set of guidelines with evidence to support my claim. Now, unfortunately, the claim was denied, so I got to go to the next step. But it was really my responsibility to tell the insurance company why I think they should fork over some more money, because my car value, in my mind, if I traded that in today and got a Carfax, somebody's going to say, well, it's not worth what you think it's worth. So that kind of process is out there. I think it's reasonable. And I think it's a great way for us to try to mitigate the risk of these superfluous complaints that really have no merit.
Yeah. So in answer to that, in our review, we reviewed many different cities and how they did this, both in-state and out-of-state. And we've tried to craft this form kind of in that spirit. And as you can see at the end of the form, there is a declaration that they affirm to the best of their ability that this is accurate knowledge. There's places for them to submit supporting evidence, and witnesses and things to corroborate what they're saying. So, to a large degree, we're relying on the good faith of the people to provide accurate information. And if we go too much into the legal part of it, then the form becomes inaccessible. it scares people from making those. And we don't want to do that. We want people to be able to feel comfortable submitting these. But at the same time, hold them to a level of honesty and integrity. And so that's what we're trying to achieve with this forum.
Great, thank you. Anyone else? Councilor Gunn?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Director Cox, to follow up on that line of thinking of the declaration that you have at the bottom, I know you don't want to get too into the weeds, though, but at the same time, given that there is a propensity for people to want to be anonymous because they're afraid of the consequences, if they're willing to put their name to something, put, like Councilor Hatch said, hard evidence from their perspective that something's happened, would signing that declaration as part of it have the same power as a sworn affidavit that this is, so that if the injured party, were to find out who complained through a FOA request, they could not take them to court for wrongful prosecution or things of that nature? Because certainly you want to have that level of protection, and if the person makes a good faith complaint that they don't want to leave themselves susceptible to another court thing, when why would anyone bother complaining if they know that they don't have that level of protection?
Yeah.
If you could comment on that generally, please.
I've seen municipalities go in different directions with that. Some municipalities will not investigate it if it's an anonymous claim. And I think that was done to kind of mitigate the amount of frivolous claims that they were getting from upset people. That would be up to, the administrator and the mayor and the council, how we wanted to proceed with that. But I understand what you're saying. And, during an investigative process, a lot of the information is protected. Like, it's not released. A lot of times that information is only released if an action is taken. So if it's a credible complaint, then that and action is taken by this board or the mayor or the city administrator, then that information is subject to FOA. If it's not found to be, well, if it's credible but it's not found to be actionable, it may not be required to disclose as much. So there's a lot that goes into that, and obviously the process is going to have to be fleshed out which way we want to go with that.
As a follow-up, if we could, get basically the legalese to find out what level it would become FOA, because from what you just said, person can't make a complaint, credible or not, on Monday and have it forwarded on Tuesday.
Yeah.
From someone who may be an injured party or may just be a troublemaker on the side wanting to discredit somebody. So to have that, I don't want to say it's like the disclaimer you see at the bottom of things, though, but to have that on the page in clear print to basically assure the public that they do have some level of protection and they're not putting themselves out there with a good faith complaint, I think is accurate, and it's a good idea because it educates the public about what their legal rights are going into this. I mean, again, if this was an employee and there's whistleblower protections, they know their protections and they know the consequences if they're acted against by their superiors, though. Public needs to know exactly what other parties can and can't do to them. And to have it on this as part of this, I think, would be more prudent, in, to your point, in getting credible complaints, people willing to put the effort in and not frivolous ones like you said.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Please, if you had more to add.
Thank you for that. And in my talks with Administrator Cole Prescott, she thinks that's very important to make sure that the public is very informed as to what their rights and protections are. And so that will be a part of this.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, not seeing anyone. Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Mayor, may I
yes,
just
please.
ask a question? So we're planning on working with IT and communications and then making the update to the webpage and then sharing it with the council so you can see what the webpage actually looks like, and then asking you for comments and feedback. So this may go live, but for a short period of time while we get your feedback, and then we'll make tweaks along the way if that sounds appropriate.
Did you, is there a copy of the form going to be going out for their?
We will do that
Okay.
as well.
Tomorrow, and then by end of week, you would like replies or change updates?
The end of next week would be fine.
Okay.
Thank you.
Great, so be on the lookout for that tomorrow.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Councilor Hatch, that is listed under your council resource. Are you okay with that when it comes back?
I'm good with that. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to item 11, that is the administrative update. Administrator Prescott.
Bear with me just 1 minute, please. I don't have a lot tonight, but we have a traffic advisory for nighttime utility work on Factory Island, CMP's work on the Saco Island substation, which we reported at the last meeting has been rescheduled to Wednesday, so this Wednesday, September 24th, starting at 7 p.m. Utility work will take place along a small portion of Main Street on Factory Island near downtown Saco. Expect temporary lane shifts, closures, and changes to traffic patterns during the evening hours, and please drive carefully in work zones. All work is expected to be completed by the morning, so the next day on September 25th. Just a reminder that we will be having a Reimagining Route 1 event with GP-COG on September 24th, so also Wednesday. It's a public meeting. We invite everyone out to come out and attend. And this is in partnership with GP-COG, Saco, Biddeford, and Saco. And it was in Scarborough. Thank you. We're looking at the future of Route 1. And it will be held from 6 to 8 p.m. at the Public Works facility on Phillips Spring Road. Residents will have the opportunity to review ideas, which could include traffic calming, bicycle and pedestrian infrastructure, transit improvements, and intersection changes, provide feedback, and suggest new projects. And the input will help prioritize improvements and guide next steps for Route 1 in Saco and the surrounding region. And just a little upcoming agenda preview on October 6th, we will be having our joint meeting with the Long Range Planning Committee, and we will also be having a joint meeting with the school board. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions or comments? Okay, great. Moving on to item 12, that is council discussion and comment. Any councilors wishing to share? Councilor Berman, then Councilor Johnston.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor. I've been reflecting on the public comments we heard from the people at the Blue Haven mobile home park and the rent increase, and some of the facts they provided about the amount of increase and also the actions of some of our neighboring towns in enacting moratoriums. I know very little about this, and I'm not sure in my mind, after only thinking about it for an hour or so, what role the city should play. But I think I would greatly appreciate if the city administrator and city staff could bring to council at some future time, but before the rent increase goes into effect, about what our options are, what our neighboring towns have done, what a moratorium might look like, and what effects it would have. I'd be very curious to learn more about what role we might play in this situation, better educate myself on how and whether we might be able to help those residents and what role we should play. So I'd be really grateful if that could be put on a future agenda.
Thank you. And Councilor Johnston?
Thank you. Yep. Along the same lines, I was just going to throw my support for getting this before council for discussion. So, thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Hatch, then Councilor Hewitt.
I'm going to jump on that bandwagon, so there's three of us.
Okay.
I just wanted to welcome one of our citizens, Tracy Collins, back to Saco. She biked from Portland, Oregon to Portland, Maine with a dear friend of hers to raise money and awareness for Alzheimer's, and did an incredible job and was welcomed back to Portland yesterday. So thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, moving on to item 13, that is executive session. Is there a motion? Councilor Hatch.
Thank you, Mayor McPhail. Be it ordered that the City Council enter into executive session pursuant to MRSA Title I, Chapter 13, Subchapter 1, Section 4056, A, Personnel Matters, City Administrator position, and E, Consultation between the municipality and its attorney.
Great, thank you. Motion has been made by Councilor Hatch. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilor Berman. Roll call vote. Councilor Edwards?
Yes.
Councilor Parks?
Yes.
Councilor Gunn?
Yes.
Councilor Berman?
Yes.
Councilor Hatch?
Yes.
Councilor Hewitt?
Yes.
And Councilor Johnston?
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0 to enter executive session at 8:09, and we will be downstairs in the conference room. Okay, everyone, thank you and welcome back. Is there a motion to exit executive session?
So moved.
Motion made by Counselor Hatch. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Counselor Berman. Roll call vote. Counselor Edwards?
Yes.
Counselor Parks?
Yes.
Counselor Gunn?
Yes.
Counselor Berman?
Yes.
Counselor Hatch?
Yes.
Counselor Hewitt?
Yes.
And Counselor Johnston?
Yes.
Motion to exit executive session passes at 9:43. Is there a report?
No report.
Thank you. Okay, motion to adjourn. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion made by Counselor Johnston. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Counselor Edwards. Roll call vote. Counselor Edwards?
Yes.
Counselor Parks?
Yes.
Counselor Gunn?
Yes.
Counselor Berman?
Yes.
Counselor Hatch?
Yes.
Counselor Hewitt?
Yes.
And Counselor Johnston?
Yes.
Motion to adjourn passes at 9:44. Thank you, everyone, and have a great night.